Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am V.N. Prabhakar, visiting faculty, Archaeological Sciences Center of Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar. In this paper titled Pre- and Protohistoric Cultures of India, we will be learning about the module Development of Indus Civilization, Ceramic Traditions. At the end of this module, you will be able to understand some of the key features of the cultural changes happened to the Indus civilization from the very beginning of the regionalization era to the end of integration era, and also to understand the various ceramic traditions existed in the greater Indus region. The Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization, it flourished between 2600 BCE to 1900 BCE in the Indus Valley and its adjoining valleys in South Asia, in the regions of Pakistan, India, and also some regions of the Makran area. So along with the cultural transformations happen in the Indus civilization, you will be able to understand the beginnings of this civilization in the form of ceramic traditions, which are the basic features in understanding cultures and civilizations of the ancient past. If we look into the various ceramic traditions that existed in the greater Indus region, there are ceramic traditions starting from very early, from the 6th millennium BCE. The earliest one is known as the Burj basket marked face, that is datable to the 6th millennium BCE, and that can be found in sites like Mehergarh and all. Followed by various ceramic traditions. I mean, there are ceramic traditions named after type sites and also various sites from where these cultural traditions are found. For example, there are various phases known as Toga phase, Kechibek phase, Hakra phase, then Padri, black and red ware, resort sleeped ware, followed by the classical Harappan phase. All the regional phases, it culminated in the Harappan phase that happened between 2600 and 1900 BCE. We will be looking one by one each of the ceramic traditions in order to better understand the kind of ceramics available in this earlier regionalization era, and also to understand in a better manner how the developments took place up to the Harappan civilization. There are several sites in the Indus Valley. If we look into the various sites, we start from the Paleolithic era. From the Paleolithic period, there are several sites in the Indus Valley which has very good evidence of presence of human. From the earliest period onwards, we pass on to the early food producing era. Food producing sites that are remarkably observed from the sites like Mehergarh, Kilegul Mehmed, Gumla, where we have incipient food producing stages, transformation from the wild to the domestication stages. So we also see evidence of agriculture here, which ultimately led to the food surplus and also led to the support of craft activities, and also supported the trade between inter-regional sites that led to the development of towns, villages, and ultimately urban centers. Coming to the earliest phase, I mean, that is the Burj basket marked phase. It can be datable to the 6th millennium BCE, that is from around 5000 BCE to 4300 BCE. It represents the earliest food village farming communities, and also saw the introduction of ceramics. Earlier, there was an aceramic phase at Mehergarh where there was no ceramics were used, and later in the period 1B, 2A and 2B, we have the appearance of very crude, soft, buff and shaft tempered handmade pottery appear. They are very simple shapes and also similarities with sites of some Iranian plateau sites. And followed by in period 2A, there are emergence of incipient forms of bowls, jars, pots, basins, and technique of manufacture of these ceramics are basically slabbing and basketry. They were not still using the full wheel made pottery. But subsequently in the period 2B, we have the wheel made pottery appearing there, and sometimes they were expanded using the paddle and the anvil. So these kind of ceramics appeared, that is marking the beginning of the earliest ceramic assemblages in South Asia. This is followed by various other phases. For example, the Toga phase in the Balochistan area, that is slightly later than the Burj basket marked phase, and the sides, if it is plotted, one can really see the kind of domination in the Balochistan area. And here the structures are made of stone blocks because of the local availability of the stones plentifully in the Balochistan area. They were constructing the houses in using stone blocks, and also they were manufacturing various kind of figurines of human as well as animal figurines, which represents their artistic traditions. Anthropomorphic figures also appear, and various kind of animal figurines also appear. Some are painted also. And the best is represented during the phases of the Kechibek phase and also the Toga phase. One can see there is a gradual increase in the number of sites also. During the Toga phase, 84 number of sites have been identified so far that can be datable to the 4300 BCE to 3800 BCE. This phase of cultural ceramic tradition can be seen in the regions of Kandahar, Balochistan and northwest frontier part of Pakistan. And in the Toga phase, Quetta Miri is the largest site where evidence of agriculture, herding and agro-pastoralistic communities tradition have been observed. They were also exposed to metallurgy, they were manufacturing beads and also making various kind of ceramics. The Toga ware, it is a very fine ware, wheel made, and it is slipped in red and painted in black. It has naturalistic as well as stylized figurates of ungulates. Ungulates means the hoofed animals, they have been represented here. And among the ceramic assemblage, bowls dominate in this phase. Followed by the Toga phase is the Kechibek phase. Kechibek phase, there are about 153 sites that is datable to 3800 BCE to 3200 BCE, largely of the 4th millennium BCE, and these kind of ceramic traditions are observed in the regions of Balochistan, Kandahar and northwest frontier Pakistan. And among them, Dabarkot is the largest site. Dabarkot is located in the highland Balochistan of Pakistan. And also these kind of assemblages are found in sites like Kechibek, Anjira, Sherikhan, Tarkai, all located in Pakistan. Here, during this phase, terracotta figurines of both human and cattle have been brought to light from the archaeological excavations, and at Mehergarh, this phase is represented during the periods 4, 5 and 6. And the pottery of this phase, it is characterized by open bowls, small-mouthed bowls and globular jars. The surface is slipped with buff and red color, and most of the motifs are in geometrical patterns. And followed by this phase is the Amri Nal phase. The Amri Nal, they are both type sites. Nal is located in Balochistan and Amri is located in southern Sindh. So the phase, ceramic phase of this tradition can be seen in the southern Sindh and the western portions immediately to the Sindh, that is the southern Balochistan. During this phase, we have at least 164 sites datable to the 4th millennium to 3rd millennium, that is 3200 to 2600 BCE, immediately preceding the mature Harappan period or the Harappan phase. It is located in regions of southern Balochistan and Sindh, also northern parts of Gujarat. During this phase, there are observed seasonal migrations happening of the agro-pastoralists moving from the highland region to the lowland region during the winter season, and again reverse migration happening during the summer region from the lowland region to the highland regions. And there are also evidences of overlap of Amri and Nal traditions with the Kodiji traditions in the southern Sindh area. So it indicates a coexistence of different culture in this region. Interactions were happening and also exchange of commodities were happening. During this phase, we have this typical two types of ceramic traditions or the ceramic typology. One is the Amri ware, which is a very fine and well-made pottery, red or buff in color, exclusively geometric to more curvilinear motifs are represented here, and the main shapes represented are bowls, jars, tall vases in this collection. The Nal ware is characterized by a fine buff buff to pink with a very light slip. It is not very dark. It is a distinct pottery characteristic by shapes like canisters and with a knife-edged rims. It is a totally a different kind of pottery appearance, and it can be very easily distinguished from the other kind of pottery. It is also elaborately painted with a variety of colors, and the motifs are mostly natural and geometric motifs. This is followed by another ceramic tradition known as the Dumb Sadat phase. Dumb Sadat phase, it is identified during the 3rd millennium BC to datable to 3200 BC to 2600 BC. That is also immediately preceding the Harappan phase, and 37 sites have been identified so far of the Dumb Sadat phase. This ceramic tradition is noticed in the regions of Quetta Valley and northern Balochistan region of Pakistan. It also has some shared elements which can be traced extending up to even Central Asia, and the pottery is well slipped. Among the Dumb Sadat phase, we have 3 distinct type of potteries. One is the Quetta ware, the second is the wet ware, and the third is the Faiz Muhammad grey ware. The Quetta ware, it is wheel made, black or buff in color, external color with geometrical and naturalistic patterns. The main shapes are bowls, vases, pots, dishes, bowl and stands, and jars. The Faiz Muhammad grey ware, it is also wheel made. The surface is smooth to sandy. It varies from its appearance on the surface. It is decorated with buff or black colored paintings, and the patterns, motifs are geometric and naturalistic designs. The firing technique is distinct in the Faiz Muhammad grey ware. It is done in 2 stages. The first one is an oxidizing atmosphere wherein the red to buff color is achieved, and the second is inadequate supply of oxygen or a reducing firing conditions in which that pottery turns into slightly grey or black in color. So this is showing the area where which we can find the Faiz Muhammad grey ware pottery. It is kind of a distinct pottery. One can view the type of typical decorations on them. And after this tradition, or more or less contemporary to the later part of the tradition, we have this Hakra ceramics. Hakra ware, it has been found extensively in the Cholistan region and the northern Punjab region. It was first identified by Rafiq Mughal of the Pakistan Department of Archaeology, who carried out an extensive survey in the Cholistan desert on the Hakra Valley, that is the extension of the Gagar Valley of India into the Pakistan. He discovered a large number of sites. One can see the distribution of these sites in the Cholistan region. Again, the sites can be datable to 3800 to 3200 BC, more or less contemporary with the other regionalization era sites. In certain parts of Rajasthan also we find Hakra ware and Hakra phase preceding the Harappan phase. So it is a handmade pottery, not so well made. It is red in color, having multiple incised lines on the exterior, and it also has a sandy or a rustications on the exterior portion, which is very distinctive of this kind of pottery. At the site of Harappa, this kind of Hakra phase has been identified below the Codigian phase, and it is characterized by handmade pottery with black colored decorations and white colored decorations on the exterior. The main ceramic types of this phase are pots, dish on stand, basins, and dishes. They were exposed to metallurgy. They were making copper, and also bead manufacturing is noticed during this phase, and also a good ceramic manufacturing tradition. They were also making shell artifacts. They were obtaining shell from distant sources and also manufacturing into various kind of artifacts. So this is followed by another ceramic tradition, which is known as of the Kot Diji, after the type site of Kot Diji located in southern Sindh and very close to Mohenjo-daro. I mean, it is located southeast of Mohenjo-daro. It is one among the earliest sites where this kind of ceramic tradition has been obtained, and it has been studied extensively by Pakistani archaeologists, and that's how the concept of early Harappan phase and the earlier Harappan tradition came into light. And it was from this site that the identification of a cultural continuity, it was identified in the Indus civilization. There was no break between the early Harappan to the mature Harappan phase, and there was a cultural continuity. That is the contribution of this site. And a prolonged investigation and exploration in both in Pakistan and India, it has brought to light nearly 111 sites of this phase datable from 3200 BCE to 2600 BCE, and most of these sites are located in Cholistan, Sindh and Punjab, both in Punjab in Pakistan and Rajasthan in India. So they have ceramic typology having large scale similarities with the armory ware. They are very thin and light in shape and are well fired, and the main shapes are pots, bowls, dishes, dish on stands and lids. There are three other distinct ceramic assemblages which existed in contemporaneity with the Cordilleran phase. They are known as the boothware, wetware and sand rusticated ware. Boothware, it has deep grooves on the surface, that is a distinct pottery, and the wetware is another type of pottery found in association with the Cordilleran, where it has a crinkled surface on the exterior of the pottery. And sand rustication is applied generally below the shoulder so that the heat cannot affect directly the pottery. So these are all the other ceramic traditions associated with the Cordilleran ware, and they were used for various purposes, both specialized and multi-utility purpose or day-to-day use purpose. There is another phase of ceramic tradition which we found towards the east of Cordilleran ceramic tradition, that is known as the Soti Siswal phase, named after two sites, one in Rajasthan and one in Haryana. Soti is located in Rajasthan and Siswal is located in Haryana. Based on the ceramic tradition, based on the evidences obtained from these sites, this phase has been identified in regions of northern Rajasthan, Haryana, and they also have a close resemblance with Cordilleran, because we have seen earlier how the Cordilleran tradition, it is extending even up to northern Rajasthan, and it is located very adjacent to this region, and hence we can expect a very good interaction and very good cultural diffusion happening between these two phases. And so far we have 165 sites of this phase datable to 3200 to 2600 BCE, preceding immediately the Harappan phase. And traditionally this type of pottery, it has been categorized into 6 fabrics from the excavation of the site known as Kalibangan in northern Rajasthan, and these fabrics are named A to F. Fabric A, which is a red colored pottery, poorly potted, painted with black and white color paintings. Fabric B, it has a smoother upper portion and a rusticated lower portion, so that is also red colored pottery. Fabric C is the finest pottery among the all fabrics. It is again a red colored pottery with a slip, bright slip in red, purple or deep plum red. Fabric D is a unique pottery among the Soti Siswal phase. It is a sturdy red colored pottery. Deep incisions are noticed on the interior of the pottery. Fabric E is distinguished from the others with a buff in color, buff in appearance on the surface, and fabric F is also distinguished from the other pottery with a grey color appearance. So these kind of ceramics we find in this part of Rajasthan and eastern and western Haryana. Then that is also another phase we find during this period is Anartha. Anartha is the ancient name of the northern Gujarat area. So its ceramic tradition has been given the name of Anartha. That is mostly noted in the northern Gujarat region. It is characterized by various kinds of pottery. They are gritty redware, fine redware, burnished red, and also grey black wares. So it is either handmade pottery or made on a slow wheel. They have straight or convex-sided bowls with incurving rims, basins with thick flaring rims, pots and jars with flaring rims, constricted neck and bulbous body. These are the main ceramic types which we find in the Anartha ware. There are also other ceramics of this phase which existed contemporary to this phase and from the other regions of Gujarat. They are the Padri ware, named after the type site Padri in northern Gujarat, where we find a coarse and thick red slip, handmade or on a slow wheel. Then the main important shapes are bowls with stud handles. That is a typical pottery of this phase, and there are other potteries types or basins, pots, dish on stand, and perforated jar. There's one more pottery type which comes from a site, Prabhas Patan. Before the Prabhas Patan cultural assemblage, there is an earlier level that is known as the pre-Prabhas pottery, that is mostly handmade, which has a corrugated and broadly incised surface. So looking into the various ceramic traditions of the regionalization era, one can easily observe the distinguished the shapes, distinguished forms, and from these slides we can very easily understand the different forms also. Here we are seeing the earliest phase, followed by some of the other phases in different parts of the Indus subcontinent, and all these ceramic traditions they existed more or less in the 4th millennium BC to 3rd millennium BC and up to the beginning of the Indus civilization, which culminates in the hallmark ceramic traditions of the Harappan phase. It is characterized by a bright red colored pottery, sometime dark red to light red, and characterized by distinguished black color decorations. The black color decorations vary with a simple hatches, simple horizontal lines, to very complicated intersecting circles, fish scale patterns, and various kind of animal motifs for river fishes and other things are depicted. So the various forms which are identified during the Harappan phase, they are very typical, and some of them have a continuity from the preceding phases, and also some of the forms they continued after the fall of the Harappan civilization. Among them one can see the dish on stands. They have a very unique form and unique place in the Indus civilization. They have evolved into various kind of forms, from squattish to tall dish on standards, and also cooking pots with a typical carination on the shoulder portion. So these kind of pots, and one more form is the perforated jar, which is another typical type of the Harappan tradition. So this is followed by some of the regional cultures after the demise of the Harappan culture, and also contemporary to the Harappan culture we have certain other traditions which can be correlated more or less contemporary to the Harappan culture, but they have maintained their own identity. For example, we have Puli culture existed in the Balochistan. We have other ceramic traditions identified in Gujarat, like the micaceous redware, blackened redware, Sorat Harappan, then Prabhas ware, which found in the northern Gujarat as well as the Saurashtrian region. We also have another ceramic traditions existed towards the end of the Harappan civilization and also continued after the end of the Harappan civilization in India, that is known as the Bara culture, identified by its typical Bara pottery, which we can find in the regions of Punjab, Haryana and western UP. There are other ceramic traditions which were existing contemporarily to the Harappan phase. They came into existence more or less in contemporary, but some continued later also, like the Savalda and Kayata cultures, and the ceramic traditions we can find in the Central Indian Chalcolithic traditions. So all these things put together, along with the ceramic traditions, we have the hallmark Harappan assemblages. What are they? We have a series of seals and sealings, the lithic industry, the bangle industry, the various kind of craftsmanship which existed, and they had a exploitation of various kind of raw materials for producing a distinguished lapidary industry, which also exported to other regions. And the Harappan tradition is also distinguished by the presence of a very good script, that is a developed script which was found initially. It was thought that the script came into being in 2600 BC, but now the researches carried out in many parts of Indus sites, it has brought to light a kind of evidence that there is a long and continuity in the evolution of the script, starting from the early Harappan phase in many sites in Pakistan and India, and later it culminated in the Harappan script. And we also have evidence of graffitis on the potsherds. Maybe it may be the potter's mark, it may be some of the inscriptions also, because we have 3 to 4 letter inscriptions also on pottery, and the hallmark is the 10 lettered signboard coming from Dholavira. So all these ceramic traditions, the characteristic features of the Harappan civilization, it culminated and it came to an end around 1900 BC, maybe due to several factors. There are several factors which led to the downfall of the Indus civilization. One could be the drying up of the river Saraswati, one could be the snap in the trade relations with the Western Asia, and there are various other factors are associated. And slowly the urban phase of the Harappan civilization, it transformed into again regional cultures. We have 3 prominent regional cultures of this phase, that is known as the localization era. The urban phase, it's transformed into the localized local cultures, and the 3 important cultures identified are the symmetry edge in the northern region, Jukar and late Kulli in the southern region, and Rangpur in the Gujarat region. So we have a distinct symmetry hedge pottery. Symmetry hedge is a site in Harappa. It is one of the largest site of the Indus civilization, and one of the mounds named as Symmetry Hedge, where they have found in a chance discovery large number of burials datable to the post-urban phase of the Harappan culture. There are other ceramic traditions which existed. There is the late Kulli phase in the Balochistan, the Rangpur phase in the Gujarat, and also the Bada phase in the Punjab, Haryana and Western UP. The ceramic traditions associated with this localization era are characterized by various kind of pottery, and also a slowly devolved pottery. If you look into the symmetry edge pottery, it has retained many of the forms and shapes of the Harappan culture, but the painted motifs are different, and the kind of depictions, they are very much distinguishable from the Harappan phase. And we have another phases identified as the Jukar phase. It is also coming from the southern Sindh area, along with the Kulli phase, and they have varying ceramic traditions, and they are distinguishable in the various forms and shapes. If you look into one by one these phases, the Punjab phase, that is characterized by the symmetry hedge ceramic tradition, Mitatal and Bhagwanpura, Siswal. All these kind of sites have this evidence of the late Harappan symmetry hedge phase in the northern India, and it is datable between 1900 BCE to 1300 BCE. It has a clear-cut continuity from the earlier Harappan forms, and the symmetry hedge mostly from the stratum 1 and 2 burials. Stratum 1 is the latest level, and stratum 2 is the earliest level. Stratum 2 is characterized by the human skeletal remains laid in an extended position, followed by stratum 1, that is a pot burial level. The Jukar phase, it is mostly found in the southern Sindh region. The type sites are Amri, Channuhdado and Jukar. Here some of the typical Harappan elements continue, like the stamp seals, it continue, but it is of terracotta or faience. The ceramic traditions, it appear also towards the end of the Harappan phase, but it continues well after the Harappan phase. The Rangpur phase, it is the post-urban phase of the Harappan culture in Gujarat, the type sites being the Rangpur and the Lothal sites. The fewer number of sites when compared to the Harappan phase, and the settlements are very smaller in size. The pottery is characterized by a very bright, lustrous red color and a burnished slip surface. There are other ceramic traditions also which we find during the post-urban phase. Some are located in the northern region of Pakistan. It is also known as the Gandhara grave culture. It is a very huge complex, more than 100 sites. It varies from region to region, and mostly in the Swat Valley and the northwestern frontier provinces side. And another phase of the late Harappan or the post-urban phase is the Pirak tradition, because we find a distinct pottery from the after the type site Pirak, and located very close to the Mehergarh site. Another ceramic tradition is the ochre colored pottery. Ochre colored pottery, which is found predominantly in the Ganga and Yamuna Doab, and it also has a continuity from the Harappan tradition in forms of type and shapes. And we have in the Deccan Chalcolithic different cultural traditions, Malwa and Jorwe, which were existing in contemporaneity with the post-urban sites. Some of the ceramic forms from Perak, it has a continuity, certain continuity of the Harappan forms, but they are very distinctively potted, very distinctively decorated on the surface. Similar is the Gandhara grave pottery. It has distinctive pots. New forms appears like chalice form of pottery, or a cup with a small stand. So these kind of potteries appear very late, but we find a large continuity or a very good continuity in the Juker phase of pottery as well as the ochre colored pottery, which can be very easily identified with the continuing traditions of the Harappan civilization. And coming to the lustrous redware, we have also a continuity of the preceding Harappan Saurashtrian and other Gujarati elements, but again it is distinctive in terms of surface characteristic features, surface execution features, and it is very different from the Harappan phase. And the Malwa and Jorwe, it is a typical Chalcolithic cultures existing in the contemporary to the post-urban phase of the Harappan culture, and also ultimately converging into various regional cultures. We have distinctive Malwa culture followed by the Jorwa culture, early Jorwe, later Jolwe in the Deccan region, which slowly amalgamated into the other regional cultures of the subcontinent. So far we have seen the development of the ceramic traditions, starting from the handmade pottery, very crude pottery, slowly into the wheel-made pottery. Then there are various regional manifestations of the wheel-made pottery and represented by the regional cultures, and ultimately culminating into the Harappan phase. And after the Harappan phase also we see the devolution, we see the amalgamation into dissipation into many regional cultures, and how there was a continuity also, there was a clear-cut correlation to the earlier phase also. So it is a long history of nearly 5,000 to 6,000 years, where we can see the development and downfall of cultures in the study of the ceramics. For other information, you can always log on to the PG Pathshala site and have more idea about other modules which are uploaded in this website.